Welcome to the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets After the AT, proudly brought to you with thanks to the Ipswich Jets Leagues Club, the heart of our community and a huge supporter of rugby league in Ipswich and of course your Jets. Today on After the AT we have someone a little different to our norm of players and coaching staff. Today we're joined by a familiar voice to anyone who's followed the Jets or local sport across Ipswich, Zak Caban from West Bremer Radio. From recording the highs and lows on game day to being one of the most passionate advocates for our community and its athletes, Zak has been here and through it all. We'll chat about his journey into sports media, the stories behind the mic, and what makes Ipswich sport so very special. Zak Caban, welcome.
Hello Richard, nice to see you. Hi everybody. Very, very weird for me being on this side, being the interviewee rather than the interviewer.
Mate, again, as I said in the intro, you're a very obviously well-known voice and well known in the region. But let's go back. Where did you grow up and what were your early interests as a kid?
Yeah, so, well, it's funny, it's come full circle. Always interested in sport, especially motor racing, and that's followed me throughout my life as well. Grew up in the New South Wales Hunter Valley, born in Maitland, raised in Cessnock. Mum and Dad still live there, so I get to go down quite often to see them because work usually takes me that way, and I still spend Christmas in that part of the world as well. The local sport down there, like you, was rugby league, the Cessnock Goannas, so I'd quite often go along and watch their games as well. So the early interest extended around sport. At that time, Wide World of Sports was still at its peak on a Saturday afternoon, and then it kind of just went from there, and it kind of helped that Mum and Dad had an interest in it as well, but for me it's become more of an obsession.
And did you, I mean, during those early years, did you have anything from a partake perspective? Like, is there any sport that you liked playing as opposed to spectating? Yeah,
that's a tough one because your viewers might not know, but I was born with congenital hydrocephalus, so that ruled out contact sports for me as a boy because it's a brain condition. So eventually I found karting as an avenue to not just go racing and learn about the ins and outs of competitive sport, but also Mum and Dad knew that it might open a few doors with regards to the speaking side of it, which was good. But yeah, I mean, never said no to having a game of backyard cricket with schoolmates. I'd be there usually on a Saturday morning cheering them on with the oranges on the soccer field, because Bellbird was big with soccer, Cessnock more specifically was rugby league. I'd often go with the neighbours to watch their boys play rugby league as well. So, and then cricket, just about anything really. Motorsport, cricket and rugby league have always been the three majors.
So let's then, sports one side of your life, but obviously significantly is your career in media and broadcasting. Yep. So how did that come about?
By chance. So, I mean, I was lucky in the sense that I knew from a very young age, because of what I've said previously, I don't know exactly what the moment was, but I knew that I wanted to be a commentator from an early age. So any chance to grab a microphone and speak into it, I was there. So when, I guess it was probably 5 or 6 years old, and everybody that has met me since has said, or has known me since has said, we've known you since you were day high and you were talking back then. So it was kind of lucky for me in the sense that I was able to immerse myself in the right areas and meet the right people and open the right doors.
So, I mean, I think, it's one of the things that I'm very impressed with you is your in-depth knowledge. You can give you a subject matter, and obviously we have, I guess, met across the rugby league and netball sphere, and that's where our connection is. And I've got to know you quite a lot over the years I've been involved.
Yep.
So where does that knowledge come from? It seems to be, I'm sure there is a point where it runs out, but as you said, I mean, literally I could leave you on this vlog for probably the rest of the day, and you could not stop talking about sport. But where do you get that thirst for knowledge? How do you, and I guess a secondary part to that is, how do you retain so much information?
We'd be very worried about the battery life on the phone if we were to sit here all day as well, and the camera. But no, my retention to detail has been mixed over the years. I've always said to people that my short term is horrendous and my long term is very good. And I studied a fair bit. When I was younger, if I had spare time on weekends, I'd be looking through yearbooks and sports. They used to release the big, debrief sports in history books, or Australian sport history books. So you'd just go through and you'd be typing up things like who was the NRL Premier in such and such a year, etc. and so forth. And then part of it is memory wave, and then the third part of it is just sheer luck as well. I'm very lucky in the sense that obscure, odd things can happen. Like you didn't see it, nor did anyone at home. Look on Holly's face when I was able to say Saturday, December 2, nail the actual date a few seconds ago. So that's my little niche, dates and years and that sort of stuff. But that's, I think that's partly through boredom. When you're sitting there, nothing to do, and you're just wanting to keep the brain moving. You're thinking, what can I think of now? How can I do this? How can I do that? One thing with live sports broadcasting though, and also modern day technology as well, it's been a very good embrace because you don't necessarily need all the information logged up here. You can have it there in front of you on the computer, you can have it there in front of you and reach for it at very short notice, click of the finger sort of stuff. So yeah, it's column A, column B. The long term is great. The short term is a little bit foggy at the moment because there's been so much going on, and I'm busier than I need to be in 2025, but busy is good.
But and I guess with technology, and as you referred to shortly a little bit of time ago, you talked about books and the old school way of doing things. How have you embraced technology? Has that made your job significantly easier and smoother, or do you still prefer to go back to good old type on a page?
Yeah, I'm a bit, again, column A, column B on this one. I embrace the new age technology with regards to my broadcasting and what I do. I mean, I've got a similar setup to what we are using here at the moment for when I go and do Facebook Live and interviews and other things in motorsport paddocks now. Once upon a time, you wouldn't even be able to do interviews that way, but the evolution of phone technology means that we can, they're so handy now, yet they're on you 24/7, aren't they? So I'm very much old school because I said to someone yesterday, I can't wait for the F1 movie, which I went and saw at the cinema yesterday, to come out on Blu-ray. And I was like, are they still actually releasing those? Because everything's going out on streaming apps now. So I'm slowly conforming to new age there. When it comes to technology, it's wonderful when it works. It doesn't always. It's handy to have backups in place, so I still have my old infrastructure when it comes to sports broadcasting as well.
Do you think
the old set of binoculars, the audio recorder, etc.
Will you ever get replaced by AI, do you think?
Oh, let's hope not. It wouldn't surprise me though.
Imagine an AI version of Zak Caban.
No, let's not.
But let's we digress a little bit.
We do.
So let's go back and talk about, we've talked about your early origins around Cessnock, and you've talked about that. But how did you end up in Ipswich? And I guess more to that, how did you end up covering local sport in Ipswich to the passion level that you're doing now? Yeah,
and I know, having got a gaze at your rundown a few moments ago, there's probably, I can answer two questions in one hit here. The end of 2016, a gentleman by the name of West Bremer was hanging up the microphone out at Queensland Raceway, and I just happened to know through contacts down formerly at what is Winton Motor Raceway and what is now One Raceway in Goulburn. The Ronk brothers, Matthew and Adam, had moved up here to Ipswich, and QR at the time was also in control of Lakeside Park. John Tetley now still runs Lakeside Park, but at the time he had both. They put the feelers out for the commentator, looking for a replacement, etc. They basically gave me the knock and said, put your name on here, we'll look after you. Pretty much you're the number one selection, but we actually need to put it out and get the feelers from people in the meantime, and then if you put your name there, straight to the top of the list, we'll be on the phone. Okay, no worries. Because back in the day, expressions of interest were a thing that went in newspapers and all that sort of stuff. Now they go out on social media and LinkedIn and other things. It's great. So that was how that came about. So for 2017, I flew in and out and I did it about 14 times. The frequent flyer points were racking up horrendously. But by the end of 2017, I'd kind of become sick of the idea of living out of the luggage case, because I was still living in Bathurst. So it was on the train to Sydney, on the flight to Brisbane and back again, and it was just so much wear and tear. So I pulled the trigger, I bit the bullet, I moved up here, and from there they had me doing a Saturday morning hour. That quickly became, once sport resumed here in, I think it was the August of that year, teaming up with Anthony Bomber-Breeze to be his panel operator for what was the weekend sports switch at the time, and then it kind of just ebbed and flowed.
So that's around 2017, 2018?
No, 2020.
Oh,
so 2018 I moved up here. It wasn't until 2020 that I went to West Bremer.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's, I guess, again, a good segue into the Ipswich Jets. From your time with, being around our club, and now you're, really much within the fabric of what we do,
Yeah.
on and off the field. How have you seen the club evolve? I mean, since obviously 2020, we're talking about COVID, I guess, so, pushing that to one side.
Yep.
The club that you, and even the grades of football we had then, I think we only had 3 grades of football. Now we're up to 6, 7 if you include A grade.
Well, that's right.
So how have you seen the club, let's talk about the Jets specifically, evolve over that time, and the increase of sport, and then of course in that time as well, netball as well?
Well, that's right. I know you guys are quite rightly very proud of the success of the netballers now with 3 teams, and I know there's talk to continue to expand the presence there, which is fantastic. With the rugby league side of things, I actually came in and did the last couple of games of the 2019 season. I've had to slowly build my knowledge of the state level since moving up here, because aside from a weekly replay on Fox and on Wednesday afternoon at 5:30, as it was at the time, either the ABC or then the Channel 9 broadcast, I hadn't seen much of the QRL prior to moving up here. So that really was I knew the ins and outs of ground announcing, read the team list, keep the time score, all that stuff up to date. I knew the basics of that, and ad-libbing, golden rule of broadcasting, Rich, the art of BSing will serve you very, very well. So I managed to wrestle my way through that, but that was my introduction there. So I didn't really have a great understanding, but now I have an appreciation for the Jets and what they're about. And to be fair, the first few years, they were tough. As you know, you've ridden the highs and lows, and it's been a hell of a roller coaster. There have been some shining moments, but particularly, obviously the glory days of 2015, we're slowly climbing back up the trajectory in the right direction of where we need to go. So it's been interesting to immerse myself within the framework here and learn about the rugby league side of things. Make no mistake, the people that wear the green and white are extremely passionate about the sport. I associate Ipswich with 2 sports. One is rugby league, mate. The other is motorsport, care of the motorsport precinct out there along Champions Way. So I've seen the highs and lows of it. And there have been some very tough times in which you go to the football, you go there optimistic, you're hopeful. Now we're in a situation in 2025 where we're excited about going to the football, we're competitive, and that is having a knock-on effect with the interest, the vibe, the attendance, and everything going in the right direction, which is good to see.
One of the things that we're obviously really proud of is wearing the colours of the city, green and white.
Yeah.
And we have that through our football and netball programs, and we do that as well at every level of representative, football and netball that we have. So again, you've been in around us for enough years now. What do you see is how important is our role that we play in the community across both rugby league and netball?
Just on the topic of the green and white, often I have this conversation with my colleague Dave Nugent, as you know. We both steer clear of buying any new green attire. We feel as though we get enough green attire in our wardrobe through the Ipswich Jets and Rugby League Ipswich as well. We don't need any more. But, mate, it's incredibly important because sport unites people. Sport brings people together. So, and it's a passion and it's a lifestyle. It's fantastic that we've immersed ourselves in the netball And then that has kind of been the catalyst to saying, well, hang on, what about women's rugby league as well? The growth of women's sport has been exponential over the last decade. It's been fantastic. But we understand that sport is a way of life and a culture, and the way in which it unites people, it gives people and I often say this with regards to motorsport or the sim racing commentary that I've been doing since the height of COVID as well. The way in which it allows people to leave the pressures, the stresses of life, the politics, the BS that goes on in their 9 to 5 or in their personal lives. They come to footy and it's a release, you know, and then whether you're a Jet supporter or whether you're a neutral or whether you've come to support the opposition and you've travelled to the North Ipswich Reserve to do it, you're all united by the same thing. You love the sport. And that's a very important thing. And the way in which it has had, the way in which the Jets themselves have then, you know, used their position in state league competition, and that same for netball as well, obviously, to then be that stepping stool for people that are at club level, just in local Ipswich comps. Both, I see the netball training camps obviously that are held for the juniors making their way up through the ranks. The seniors, as you know, as you said, are now part of Rugby League Ipswich as well. And there's people that play the Jets that are aspiring to play as a Jet, that look at the Jets as a stepping stone either to the future of their rugby league career and the end of their rugby league career, or it's a pathway up to, you know, NRL, even English Super League.
One of the things that we've continued to push through our chairman Steve Johnson is our NRL bid. Again, you're very much all over, way more the pros than anything else of having a team here. But how do you think an NRL licence would benefit not just obviously the Jets, but the game, the club as well as the region itself?
It'd be a huge win for the region, of course, with the push for the overhaul, the redevelopment of the North Ipswich Reserve and that sports and entertainment precinct that would become. There would be some other discussions to be had with regards to infrastructure, getting people in and out. And I know Jets supporter Dave Martin's a big campaigner for the second bridge, of course, to help with that. But there's also other things like transport and things that we'll get to at another point in time. But it would be massive. I mean, there's a couple of things here. One, given what we know now, the earliest we would get in would be Team 20. And that would then even things up from a competition standpoint. You then have a discussion about whether you split into two 10-team conferences, if you expand the season, etc., etc. But it would be huge for the city, I mean, because it's that next step up, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of love for state league competition, but the NRL brings that different flair, that grandeur, etc. with it. So that then puts Ipswich on not just the national map, but the international as well, because you've got then people who will be seeing these games overseas, that will be seeing the green and white in action. The only discussion that then has to be had, and this is across all sports with their plans to expand and all that, is talent pool. You don't want to diminish the quality of the product for the sake of quantity and vice versa. So we've got the depth here. Rugby league is strong, alive and well. Let's hope that the NRL sees that and embraces that, and we are the 20th team in a few years' time. Could you imagine that though, folks, right? You'd have to book out 2 days for game day, especially in the early part of the season. You'd have to have the under-17s and 19s on the Saturday, you have to have the B&D, your host class, the A grade, and the NRL on the Sunday.
Sounds like a game day weekend. Hell, but mates, we'll have to pay you more than we do now to do some grand announcing.
I love it.
So, again, good segue probably. Two players that we've been able to take from, I guess, our pathway into that great Titans affiliation is, Dion Diapa, our halfback, and also Oli Pascoe as well has now got some opportunities at the Titans. So, you see our games week in, week out. Who are some of the standout players that you've seen in our competition?
Yeah, and this is a tough one because there's been such a change in year on year. I mean, take the game the other day as an example. I mean, yes, it was a loss. It was 8 points. It was against the second place team though. So let's take the positives away from that. We're there. We're a lot closer than we've been for a couple of years. It's exciting for Ty and his crew because the way I see it, there's only a couple of little things that they need to now fine tune in order to be able to pack a punch with the top flight of the competition, which is a far cry from where we've been in the last couple of years. So when you look at players that stood out, I mean, it's great to see Blake Lenihan back in green and white. You mentioned Ollie Pascoe and Tiupa. I was also impressed with Rashawn Denny the other day. Yes, he spent 10 minutes in the naughty corner, but the way in which the team lifted as a whole to not concede any more points because they'd hemorrhaged 16 already, whilst he was in the bin, 13 on 12. Yeah, it probably tired them in the long run, but they kept north-south. They managed to put the plug in the bathwater rather than let it continue to run. And then he got back on the field and played an integral part for the rest of the afternoon. And you need those key players, mate. I mean, you're never going to have the best 17 in the competition on the park, but 2-3 key players that can guide it around the park make all the difference. And they've been some of the standouts in a season where we're very much firmly placed in the right position to play finals football, which is exciting. That first weekend of September, whether it's an elimination final or a qualifying final, whether it's home or away, everybody's going to be talking about the resurgence, the revival of the Jets. And let's be honest, you know, that doesn't happen without players coming to the table and committing and believing in themselves, but it's also the coaching staff behind the scenes who, and led by Ty, who's done a magnificent job turning it all around and instilling the passion, instilling the belief in these guys. And we've seen a very different brand of football as a result of that.
For somebody listening to this and listening to your story, I mean, again, I think what I've taken out of this is that, you know, you took the opportunities that there with both hands, and that's why you're here and doing what you're doing. What piece of advice would you give to somebody wanting to get into commentary or sports journalism? And before you answer that, I mean, I think one of the things you may or may not be aware of is that in the last week or so, I found out one of the local universities here have stopped the diploma in television and broadcast media. And that's, going back to your previous point, a very good indicator of where perhaps, you know, everything is heading. But that's significant, you know, for a leading university to drop that as a, you know, as a course, a degree, is significant. So with facing AI, with the saturation of, you know, content, with the saturation of sport, somebody looking at it, looking at you, looking at, you know, the you know, Peter Solis of this world that want to get involved in sports media, what's your advice to them? Other than don't.
It would be far less stressful and far more beneficial to your health if you didn't, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only 35 this year, but there will be grey hair here very soon. From my standpoint, don't get me wrong, I went down the avenue because I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I wanted to do it from, you know, being knee-high to a grasshopper. And I was lucky. Life may have taken me in some different directions to what I originally envisaged, but, you know, you can't predict that sort of stuff. And if you did, you'd be getting asked for the lotto numbers week in, week out, wouldn't you? But I think the main advice is, if you're passionate, dig in, dedicate yourself, apply. You know, I mean, you mentioned the university up here. Same applies to my alumni. Charles Sturt University in Bathurst. I wasn't a very good student, Rich. I was more a hands-on learner, and unfortunately the theory side let slip a little bit. But practical, I've always been hands-on and learnt that way. That's the way my brain's tuned, and I'm better in that regard. But keep pushing, because if you're good and you stand out in the crowd, there's someone that's going to notice that, and there's someone that's going to open up the door and say, hey, we've got this opportunity for you. It seems like you'd be a good fit. Come on through. The problem we've got is with universities closing doors in terms of that avenue of tertiary education, And it's not just here, as I said, it's New South Wales as well, and I'm sure there'd be other universities around the country that have had the same impact in recent times. It's also because of the way in which the media landscape has changed. The talent pool has shrunk because the job requirements are no longer there. You don't have as many jobs in the industry as you used to. But there's always someone there looking for coverage. It might be, in my regards, it's Karting New South Wales. It's my employer in New South Wales at the moment. So they've got a Dunlop Kart Stars series. They want some consistency across the board, one commentator per track rather than trying to source a few different people, which is good for me but bad for them when I've got conflicting commitments. But it's more a case of there's always someone, because of social media, looking for a media savvy person, because not everybody's tech savvy, not everybody's lucky enough in that regard. I'm still teaching, I've palmed it off. Mum's teaching Dad how to use the Hubble box so we can access KO and watch his bike racing. But not everybody's tech savvy, but those that are, you need to be a little bit more multitasking capable than what you used to be. You need to be able to do the camera thing, you need to be able to do the editing thing and the producing thing. So you need to be versatile in that regard. But don't give up because it can be rewarding. Yes, there are days where you tear your hair out and you bang your head up against the wall. But if it's what you are passionate about and it's what you're put on the earth to do, try not to let anybody stand in your way of doing it, because even if doors close, I've been around long enough to know, as frustrating as that can be, and you know, there's a couple of people that I've still got to get square with on that regard, Rich, but there's always another door opening. You might have to wait a little while, but there's always another door. You know, aim for the stars, but then take the doors that open along the pathway. Don't just jump straight to the top, climb the ladder.
So I guess multidisciplinary approach,
Yep.
saturation of sport, you know, less talent pool gives you more opportunities to stand out. Mate, to finish off, what's next for you? Where's your career? You said you've already put on record you're 35, something I didn't know about you until today.
Yep.
So let's give you another 30 plus years, you know, in that commentary box. So where does the future take you? What's your ultimate aspirations?
Well, actually, I was heavily surprised last year because I mentioned earlier about neurosurgery and congenital hydrocephalus. So checked in with my neurosurgeon last year, and he said, "Come and see me when you turn 40." And I was surprised on two fronts. One, that he thought I was going to make it, and two, that he was actually still. The first question I asked him was, "Are you still going to be in that chair in 6 years' time?" He said, "I'm hoping to see you into your 50s, Zach." I was like, "Well, you're confident," but no, I don't know because I'm always toying. I'm one of those people where the work keeps me firmly planted here, and that's thanks to people like you and the Jets for welcoming in with open arms, and people like Dave Nugent who need ground announcers for rugby league Ipswich finals and other things. West Bremer, of course, plays a part in that, but I'm lucky with West Bremer. I can take that work on the road. I do some work for Western Australia at the moment. Who knows, an opportunity might open up over there. But it would have to be sustainable and viable for me to do it before I took the plunge and moved across the Nullarbor, let me tell you. I think for the next short while, life's just at a little plateau at the moment. I'm ticking the boxes that are required to keep the roof over my head. I don't know what the future holds. I'm excited to find out. If I knew what the future held, I'd be a bit more confident in being able to answer the question for you. But I don't think anyone really knows what the future holds. You just got to roll the punches and take every day as it comes. And every day is a bonus, as we've found out. That there's so many people that are cruelly no longer with us for one reason or another, be it illness or accident or whatever the case may be. So I'm one of those people where because I'm immensely and intensely loyal, I'll stay where I'm currently at until such time as I'm no longer required or no longer needed. That's just one of those things. So the radio's it's going along, and that's 3 to 5 on a weekday afternoon. By the way, on West Bremer Radio, the website, the app, Amazon Alexa, Google Smart Speakers. There's your
Don't worry,
cheeky plug.
I would have given you a chance to plug
and then of course I do sim racing commentary 3 nights a week. That means that I'm firmly planted. I can do that anywhere in the world as long as I've got a decent internet connection. So yeah, life's pretty good in that regard. And if I can keep doing that sort of stuff, and people like what I do, and I enjoy what I do, then I think everyone ends up happy.
Look, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in early this morning.
Pleasure.
Zak Caban, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
That's a wrap up on this episode of the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets After the 80, proudly brought to you with thanks to the Ipswich Jets Leagues Club. So please make sure you stay tuned, make sure you like, watch and share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time as we bring you all things Ipswich Jets.